Serious questions being raised in that story. How serious really is the shortage of ammunition for our defense services? That's our top focus tonight. Joining me, Ajai Chowdhry, Strategic Affairs Editor at the Business Standard. Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, former DG of the Infantry, is also joining us. Naresh Gujral, Member of Parliament of the Shiromani Akali Dal and a member of the Parliament Standing Committee on Defence, joins us. And Ajai Chowdhry, Chairman of the CII's National Defence Council, is with us. Appreciate all of you joining us. Mr. Naresh Gujral, let me start with you, since you are a member of the Parliament Committee on Defence. Your first reaction to those reports which show, particularly the first one, that a lot of the mainstay tank ammunition is at hopeless levels, even below critical numbers. We have some ammunition that will last us less than 10 days of war. Your reactions when you see those statistics?
Absolutely shocking. We had no idea that this was the state of affairs. But Rajdeep, we cannot look at this in isolation. Look at the cancer that has set in this UPA too. Starting from the CWG scam, moving on to Adarsh, moving on to the 2G scam, the open spat between the senior ministers, the mishandling of the Baba Ramdev, and thereafter Anna Hazare. They from one blunder to another. This UPA goes on.
Let's be bypassed. Sir, we are talking. I'm sorry, I agree.
I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it.
What I'm saying is, this is a very sensitive issue. You are a member of the Parliament panel on defence, sir. These are shocking figures that look squarely at the state of our defence preparedness. And you are saying to us, you are shocked. That means Parliament has never been informed of this.
I am absolutely shocked because of the indecision at the level of the government. Now, let us start with these exercises which Indian Express, you just talked about.
Yes.
These were normal exercises, but so much is the trust deficit that the government hit the panic button. And at the same time, this letter which has been leaked, which was written by the Army Chief to the Prime Minister, which has been leaked to the media.
Right.
We are all extremely concerned about the contents of it. And now you are giving details, and it is absolutely shocking.
Will you call a meeting of your panel? Will your next Parliament panel look at the, will your next meeting of your Parliament panel, sir, look at these issues?
Rajdeep, yesterday was a meeting, and I made a request to the chairman that we should summon the Army Chief and ask him, because whatever is coming out in the public domain is absolutely startling and shocking. And it is something which causes great concern in our minds.
You're saying that the Army Chief should be summoned to try and get an idea of just how ill-prepared we are if there was a war?
Yes, absolutely, because so far we have never been told all these things that I'm hearing today.
Okay, you're saying the parliamentary panel has been kept in the dark in a sense. General Shankar Prasad, are you horrified or surprised or shocked like Mr. Naresh Gujral is by the facts that are emerging in these stories? 97% of our air arsenal is obsolete. The fact is that we have ammunition that will last us less than 10 days in a war.
Rajdeep, I'm not shocked because I'm aware of all of it for the last so many years. But it is horrifying that year after year, the same figures are projected to the government and now to the media. The unfortunate part is that last many years,
yes,
the preparation has been consistently going down. And every year the percentage falls. There is a certain quantum of ammunition,
yes,
which is called the WWR ammunition. Some at intense rate, some at normal rate, have to be kept ready at all times. Unfortunately, that figure is not being maintained. Who is responsible for this? Is the service headquarters responsible for it? They would be responsible for it if they did not put in the correct demands at the correct time. Then who is the next agency? It is the Ministry of Defence.
Yes.
And the next agency is the fellow who is going to produce it, the Ordnance Factory Board. In between, somewhere the DRDO also chips in. And of course, if the ammunition is imported, the foreign vendors. So there are so many agencies. Let us pinpoint as to where this matter rests all the time.
I'm going to come.
And I must say,
yes,
that whether it is ammunition or whether it is equipment,
yes,
this situation is horrifying. I am not shocked because I am getting used to receiving these shocks over and over and time again.
You know,
the service chiefs have been writing about it, Rajdeep.
Yes.
And we are taking perhaps no. You see, the problem arises,
yes,
and simply in one sentence, that the responsibility of Defence of India is believed to be only of the Armed Forces headquarters. The Ministry of Defence is not responsible. Let me please put it very clearly.
Okay.
The defence of India from external threat is the responsibility of the Ministry of Defence, just as the internal security is the responsibility of the Ministry of Home Affairs. So if the defence preparedness is lacking today, please call the Defence Ministry officials and the Minister to the Parliamentary Board rather than to summon the Army Chief.
Okay,
the Army Chief has already been represented yesterday by the Vice Chief and he has QMG and
let me get a quick
call
response.
the Ministry of Defence to answer this.
Naresh Gujral, get the Ministry of Defence and the Defence Minister to explain.
We will definitely, but we just want to understand this whole situation in entirety from the Army Chief. We want to understand the total, today you have given certain figures, we were not aware of those, but we want him to confirm that all that you are saying is absolutely true.
Okay, so you're first going to call the Army Chief, but you will also call, just a minute, General, you will also call the Defence Minister if necessary, as well as MOD officials. Ajay Chowdhry, we are all acting as if we are startled here, but the fact is, you also put out a report in Business Standard with equally startling figures. 80% of tanks, you said in your report, were night blind. India's 220 odd artillery regiments had equipment that was quarter of a century old. I presume you too are not surprised. You've been a military man yourself, and this is not a new problem.
Rajdeep, I have to say that, I began by believing that all this conflict between the chief and the government was bad. But the way that all this stuff is coming out into the public domain, I've been writing about this for the last 10 years and nobody really cared a sausage. Now suddenly this is center stage. So I think the big lesson that really comes out is that conflict between the services and the Defence Ministry seems to lead to a degree of plain speaking that brings all this out in the public domain. Clearly the Army's generals have been reflecting all of this very diplomatically, but they've not gone out there and thumped the table. They've not said that our army is unfit for war and we need to get all these things. It is only now when you've got a really bad relationship between the army and the MOD that the generals are actually saying this. Right. So this is very interesting. Let's keep the relationship bad. Let's get ready for war.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in a way that these issues have to come to the public domain at a time of a strained civil-military relationship. But let me bring you in, Mr. Chowdhry, as someone who's looked at this issue very closely. You've looked at defence procurement. Where is the nub of the problem? Is it because some are suggesting that far too many companies get blacklisted by the ministry even on the slightest suspicion? Is it red tapeism? Is it the bureaucracy? Is it a tussle, as General Prasad seems to suggest, with the MOD and the armed forces? Is the time taken for trial time for testing the problem? Where is the problem?
There are, if you look at, there are two issues. One is the ammunition, the other is the equipment. Equipment is also a very big issue. Because if you see, all projects get delayed by years and years and years.
What would be the average delay on a project?
Sometimes 5 years, sometimes 7 years, sometimes even 10 years. So you do have delays in projects like that. And I think a very big issue that is sitting inside is that all kinds of people go and influence all kinds of procurement. Because of the whole issue is around the fact that, let's say in the next 10 years, the country is going to buy $80 to $100 billion worth of equipment.
Right.
Everybody in the world is looking at India today. So what happens is that all the global companies are coming and sitting here trying to get business. As a result, what's happening, there's a whole bunch of middlemen, whole kinds of issues are happening. It just delays procurement. And the second issue there is that we have done nothing in the last 15 to 20 years to domestically manufacture these products. All that we have done is leave it to OFB and the defense manufacturing organizations. The productivity there is 15 lakhs a year as compared to 30 lakhs normal productivity.
In fact, you're coming up with an important point, which Mr. Naresh Gujral, you are, as I said, member of that standing committee in Parliament on defense. You've said you're shocked by our report, but as the facts are coming out, the generals knew about this. Any military strategist, Ajay says he's been writing about this for the last decade. And the point is coming out that public sector also needs to be accountable. Have you all visited these PSUs? Because many believe that there's a serious problem both of quality and capacity. Many of them don't adhere to schedules. Do they need to be put under the scanner? Call the PSU chiefs, these defense PSU chiefs also, not just the army chief. Why don't you summon the defense PSU chiefs?
You're absolutely right. We will have to do that now. But in the past, I must say, Rajdeep, that it has never been mentioned to us. They have been coming to our committees from time to time. But this kind of situation has never been brought to our notice.
Which means,
we which
means that there was a vested interest in keeping this information away from the parliamentarians.
Well, so it seems now.
And what were you told by these PSUs when they would come before the parliament? Would they tell you that there was
No, we were not talking to, no. PSUs were not coming before us.
Yes.
We were told that the indigenization process was extremely slow because transfer of technology was not happening, or it was very slow.
Yes.
But we were completely prepared.
Yes.
And that we could face any eventuality. Time and again, we were assured of this.
Ajay Shukla, does that mean that somebody was lying, you believe, to the parliamentary panel?
No, Rajdeep, nobody was lying. The problem was nobody was interested. You had a bunch of generals who were warming their chairs in army headquarters, who were not going out there and projecting their requirements strongly enough. There was this complicit agreement between the MOD generals and the ministry themselves that we'd never really have to go to war. We'd never actually be tested out there. This stuff would never actually come out in the open. So you had situations where, and you know, we're all blaming the UPA government now.
Yes.
Let's remember that this whole shortage of artillery ammunition stems from the fact that Mr. George Fernandes wanted to set up the artillery factory in his home constituency of Samastipur. And that factory was to be set up in partnership with South African company Denel, which then got blacklisted and which is still waiting to start producing. So the whole supply of 155 mm ammunition, which is one of the key things in Anubhav's report, has not been manufactured because of this constituency interest of the defense minister himself.
Shocking.
Now, when the army generals are not interested in putting forward the thing, the bureaucrats are happy to sit on the files, the politicians are happy to just badmouth each other, then obviously the actual issue of defense preparedness just gets completely swept off the table.
So
nobody's interested in it.
You know, this is a highly sensitive issue. It's always been kept under the table because of national security.
So-called Rajdeep, I need to make a point at this stage.
Yes, General Prasad, give me a solution.
It is very unfair for Ajay.
Yes.
Rajdeep, it is very unfair for Ajay Shukla to say that a bunch of generals were warming the chairs. Let me tell you, I have been in the army headquarters as a senior rank for a couple of years, and I'm aware of at least 3 to 4 or 5 chiefs who have been consistently writing such letters. When I was a brigadier in the army headquarters, the army chief then wrote a letter to the Prime Minister.
But nothing changed.
Thereafter, right through my service,
but nothing
there
changed.
Isn't a single army chief.
General Prasad, nothing changed. So what's the solution?
Not the point. I am contesting Ajay Shukla's statement very strongly to say army generals are not bothered. They were warming their chairs. I'm sorry, Ajay Shukla left the army as a colonel. He hasn't the foggiest idea of what he's talking about and belittling generals who retired 8 to 10 or 15 years ago.
No, let's not make this
personal. Very categorically, in my opinion, Rajdeep, let me put it on record very clearly that every single army chief has fought for modernization. Just 1 minute, let me complete these. You can go and record and check. Every single army chief since the last 5 chiefs, I can assure you, have written similar letters to the Prime Minister, to the Defence Minister. And all the combined conferences that have been held in Delhi, such deficiencies have been brought in front of Raksha Mantri and members of the CCS. What more do you want the army generals to do?
Ajay, respond. What more do you want the generals to do?
That's absolutely correct. I think that a general who believes that his job is to write letters is a sad reflection on the ethos of the Indian Army. This is not the Indian Army that I joined. It's not the Indian Army that I was brought up in. It's not the ethos that I was steeped in. The ethos of the Indian Army is to make sure that your men get the wherewithal to fight with when they go into battle. To make sure that those young officers and those soldiers that die over there do not die because of a shortfall of weapons, ammunition and so on. And if they are doing that,
don't make it emotional. Ajay, don't make it emotional.
It's not emotional.
Ajay, don't make it emotional.
There's a practical reality.
Please don't make it emotional.
All of you died, but I wrote a letter. I'm afraid. I mean, that general should not be in his chair.
Okay, hold on. Let's not make this personal at one level. Mr. Chowdhry, what is the solution? We can go on bickering about this. The army chief will retire on May 31st. Another army chief will take over. He may, as Ajay says, write more letters. The army is conscious of it. but nothing seems to change. If you had to offer today solutions, and hopefully someone out there is listening to them, we've got a member of the defense panel in parliament listening, what are those 2 or 3 solutions you would offer, concrete solutions to change this terrible, terrible situation?
One major issue that is there is this whole issue of procurement. I think the procurement process itself needs to become completely streamlined and professional. We should pull professional people there and who are trained to buy things, not people who come in and go out. It should be continuous. The same people should be around for 4 or 5 years because they know how to buy.
So specialized
people, trained people. Number one. Number two, they should be given a mission mode activity there. You have to buy this by this date, this by this date, this by this date. And that has to be made to happen. Now, I think it is so important that a matter like this literally has to be reviewed at the PMO level. I believe the PMO should set up an organization, the way we are recommending, that they should set up an organization that reviews all procurement, reviews indigenization. Because otherwise what we are fundamentally doing is we'll continue to import 70% of our equipment from outside and we'll continue to have delays and we will bring no technology and create no jobs.
Allegations of corruption, red tapeism, processes will continue to get delayed.
Right.
I'm going to give you a final word, Naresh Gujral, because you said that you're shocked by our report. Can we expect next week you have another meeting of your panel? You're saying you're going to summon the army chief to get more details. But can we expect that some of these issues that we've raised will now you will put pressure on the defense ministry to come up with answers? It won't be cloaked under the carpet under the guise of national security.
There is no question of that. We are meeting on Monday, and I think this time the meeting will see a lot of fireworks. And I am more than convinced now that the army chief should come before us and express all his reservations and give us details of what he thinks is missing.
And you're assuring us that as far as your parliamentary panel is concerned, you will try and hold those responsible for this accountable, because the accountability is a big problem in our system.
100%. We are all extremely concerned about the security of this nation, and we will do our utmost to ensure that army gets its supplies in time.
Okay, we're going to take your word for it. That meeting is coming up on the 9th. I'm glad that you will take note of our report and that hopefully put pressure on the system. Something needs to change. Ajay Yes,
Rajdeep, one quick point.
Yes, Ajay.
Rajdeep, you know, it's really nice that all of this has come out in the open, even if it's come out as a result of friction between the army and the MOD.
Yes.
But now if this deteriorates in parliament into a UPA versus non-UPA battle, all this momentum would be lost. So I would appeal to the Standing Committee of Parliament to really treat this as a national issue, not on partisan party lines, but to do it for the good of India.
Mr. Gujral, it's not about NDA versus UPA. It's about the Indian nation.
I agree with what Ajay is saying. I entirely agree with what Ajay is saying. Nation comes first, and we should not be playing politics with all this.
Okay, well, let's hope that no one plays politics with this. Our sole purpose in this report has been to bring to the nation just what's gone wrong with our defense procurement policies. Mr. Chowdhry, General Prasad, Ajay Shukla, Naresh Gujral, appreciate your joining us here on our talking point tonight. What's the editor's take? Where do we stand? General VK Singh will retire on the 31st of May, but lost in the fog of the general versus government battle is the real problem of an antiquated army war machine in urgent need of refurbishment. This is a problem that goes well beyond individuals to a system where defense procurement is caught in a web of red tapeism, intense competition, and dare one say corruption. General Singh may well fade away. The problem of deficiencies in our defense preparedness will not.